we're streaming. Oh, Marantz. I guess I got two opening bits. Woo! Woo! There we go. Yeah, I got two opening bits. Let's see if anyone's watching. That seems to be streaming. The stream looks good. So, all right, let me pull up the game. Black Friday board game.
Yeah, you gotta find the other Black Fridays. Not the Thanksgiving one. Not the
stock market crash one, the real one.
Actually, it is the stock market crash one. Only in animal green Friedman freeze form.
All right. It's Tuesday, September 26, 2017. I'm Rim.
I am Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, on Tuesday, it's Black Friday, the 2010 board game about Black Friday. The stock market Black Friday. All right. Everything looks good there.
What's up with are these tablecloths? What is it?
One of those is a backdrop for video, and one of them is a tablecloth.
I need a tablecloth, but not the...
This has pole pockets, so I can hang it. I have a whole... So I can put a wall back there of cloth.
Mm-hmm.
We could use it... Thing is, your house has a nice background for video. Like, it's more like the kinds of backgrounds I usually see in those videos. My house does not have...
It seems like most people get those shelves that are big squares and put a bunch of tchotchkes on them.
Yep.
It's like...
Well, you have the wall of comics, which looks pretty good, compared to... I have...
Well, because it's a genuine thing, not an obvious setup.
Yeah,
like
but
some people.
The trouble with our apartment, like here, is that everything's super minimalist, so there aren't backgrounds.
My main problem is I can't line it up. The couch is to the right, so you keep seeing my computer.
Yeah. And there's no room in your apartment to actually put like a big cloth structure back there. Mostly what I can use it for is to block off the living room so we can shoot long ways instead of straight ways to be further away from the background so there's less shadow. Like that's the kind of thing I can do. All right, anyway.
I don't know. You look at. I keep thinking. I always think of that Twitch booth at PAX because it's where they have their little set.
Yeah.
Because they're not far away from the background, and
but that's because the one.
It's like in this dark ass room. It's ridiculously bright.
Well, that's because they have a lot of lights that are semi-permanently set up, like they're permanently set up relative to that location, and they have a flat white background.
It's not flat. It's got structure to it.
Well, as in it's a flat white. It doesn't have. It's not shiny. It's usually concave a little bit. So you get a nice even light.
They're at an angle.
Yeah, but if it's slightly concave, it doesn't matter if you're at an angle.
All I'm saying is it's pretty good. We should try to copy.
Oh yeah, it just takes space that we don't have in our apartments. We need the banana stand.
There's 56 people watching my auction for my camera, but it's only 5 bids.
Ah.
Everyone waits to the last second. It's got 1 day and 5 hours left. It's like,
well, you could do like the opening bit. You're trying to sell your camera. I'll bet some listener will be like, "Yeah, camera."
This camera has filmed many Geek Nights.
That is true.
I own a piece of Geek Nights history.
So a few days ago, I came home and I smelled like a whiff of mildew, which I've never smelled in my New York apartment before. So I'm like, huh?
I have, just the old kind.
Yeah, but then it disappeared. Like I couldn't find it.
Oh, so it's just a whiff?
It was a whiff and it was gone.
Whiffs happen. I've smelled whiffs of all kinds of smells. You know, sometimes I'll even smell a whiff of gas and be like, oh, shit.
Yep.
And then it's gone. And I'm like, well, I guess it was just like someone, twisted something on their barbecue.
There was one time I was biking home back when I worked downtown, and I was like way downtown, and I'm in the middle of the street, and I stop at a stoplight.
I've definitely smelled it while biking in the middle of the street.
But I smelled hella gas.
Oh, hella? I've never smelled hella gas. I've only smelled a whiff of gas.
So I'm like, huh. So the first thing I did was bike away.
Yeah, good idea.
And then I was about to call 911, and then I see a whole bunch of Con Edison trucks come up, and a bunch of people get out and start looking around and sniffing, and then one guy points at a manhole, and they were on it.
Okay.
But so then the next day I came home, and there was a whiff of it again. Second whiff.
That's a job I don't want. Con Edison report. Go to the emergency where someone smelled gas job. It's a bad job.
So, but then I can't find it again. And then I hear a bunch of construction noises going on, and it sounds like it's in the wall behind our kitchen. Like in the inside area. And then I go into my bathroom, and there was some old water damage there. And I see that they're working outside of our apartment, but related. So I wonder if they're like fixing some water damage. So I found a plausible explanation for occasional mildew whiffs, so I ignored it. I came home the third day, and I smelled it way stronger. So at that point, I have to do I don't just casually investigate. I methodically start going around the apartment, following the walls, sniff testing. And then I get near the fridge, and it's real strong. So I think it's behind the fridge, which is terrifying.
Because how do you get back there even?
Yeah, but it's not.
You know what would really help you see behind the fridge?
Yeah, I know exactly what would help me see behind the fridge.
A little endoscope?
I think I might get one of those endoscopes, actually. I got one in an Amazon cart right now. But I want to do some research to make sure I'm getting the right one. I want the one with the hook.
There's too many competing endoscopes.
The one that has the iPhone and Android app and has the hook and the magnet.
And it has a light on the on the front.
And it's real stiff, so I can like put it straight up if I want to.
But also long enough.
Yeah. Well, one of them's crazy long, but it's crazy expensive. But I digress. So then I'm going around the kitchen, and I can't like figure out where it's coming from. Like it's getting really irritating and unnerving. I start like opening cabinets and double checking. And then as I'm walking across the kitchen again, I suddenly remember there's a sack of potatoes on the, like just sitting out. And I go over and I sniff the bag and I smell it a little stronger and I open the bag and I sniff it. Mildew country.
Just throw them potatoes out.
So, but those are pretty new potatoes from the CSA. They're like really nice potatoes.
Oh.
So,
well, I mean, the CSA might not be the cleanest.
Yeah, so what I do is I open it up, because the thing is, usually when potatoes go bad, they smell like a rotting human corpse.
They smell bad.
But this just smelled like mildew.
Maybe it was
It
the
did
bag.
not smell like rotting potato. So what I do is I put a big bowl in the sink, and I dump the entire potato sack in, and 2 of the potatoes, out of like 20 potatoes, 2 of them had the consistency of a rotten fruit. And when I squished one of them, it basically exploded into mush that smelled like mildew.
Ew.
So yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, this is the difference between, CSA food and grocery food, but also...
But so only 2 of these potatoes had this problem. The rest, like I washed them all, they were all totally fine.
They must have been attacked by something.
Yeah, but I've never in my life had a potato go bad in that manner. Ever.
Also, I guess that's weird that the construction wasn't anything. Right?
Yeah, the construction was a red herring. The thing is, in New York especially, if you smell a smell and there is even a remotely
There's a lot of smells
source,
in New York.
Yeah. Like if there's a remotely plausible source for the smell, I'll assume it's that unless the smell persists or causes a
It's
problem.
almost a problem because like I could be in my apartment and smell pee or something and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess there's like a homeless bum outside or something. It's like no, if someone
Yep.
actually peed in my apartment on something, I wouldn't know for a while.
So yeah, actually a couple weeks ago, I was sitting in this room where we were recording Geek Nights,
and you
and I
peed?
suddenly smelled a little bit of cigarette smoke. And I was like, oh, fuck no. And I look out the window, and there is one person 3 stories down, and these are tall stories, so it's like 5 stories down in like a non-New York building. Like that's how 4.5, 5.
They're normal size stories.
Nah, you forget how high the ceilings are here, and our
Same as my ceiling.
and our first floor is almost 2 stories
Sure.
because they got the highness. So I'm like 4.5 stories up, give or take. And there's someone way down and way across in that like area where there's the construction, smoking like 1 cigarette. So I opened the window and I yelled at him, and he flipped me off. But then the next day, a whole bunch of no smoking signs appeared in that entire area down there. So yeah. Anyway.
You're not allowed to smoke in construction areas.
Oh, no. So it's not construction anymore. You're not allowed to smoke anywhere on this building's property except in your own apartment.
You can smoke in your own apartment?
Yeah, this building is not one of these smoke-free buildings, unfortunately.
Really?
But yeah, a lot of buildings. Most buildings are not.
Really? Mine is.
Yeah, most new buildings are. But this building is not as new. It's rent stabilized. But technically, you're allowed to smoke in your building. But to this building's credit, the only time I've ever smelled anyone smoking anything in their apartment, it's been marijuana. I've never actually smelled cigarette smoke coming out of an apartment. So, and the person who was smoking on there, pretty sure they did not live in any of these buildings. So yeah, that's my story.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right.
Got anything happen to you, or should we get right into gaming?
Not really.
All right.
Living.
So, in the news, there's this game called PUBG. Player Unknown Battleground. We've talked about it.
It's the biggest deal right now. We might not be able to avoid it because it's such a big deal.
I almost played it the other night or the other evening, but the weather was nice, so I biked instead. But the game feels like it's got things I hate in games. Like, I think there's some Iron Sights type aiming stuff, like some Arme stuff. But at the same time, it's also a battle royale, which is just a fascinating concept in games. So the only reason I haven't played it yet is I just haven't had time. Like, it's one of those games that I feel like if I play it at all, it'll be immediately apparent if it's bad, and if it's not bad, I'm probably going to play it a lot.
Yeah, so the deal is someone else noticed, hey, PUBG is like a huge fucking deal right now.
Yeah.
Right? I think PUBG is not quite indie. I read an article about the guy who made PUBG, and he was a modder, right? It was a mod originally, but then he sort of got hired and went to work with like a somewhat real game studio.
Well, that's how Counter-Strike came about.
This is a similar story to that, right? Where so PUBG itself is not some in mod anymore that some guy made. It's actually like this. He's the leader of the team that makes it, but he went to get a real game studio to make PUBG. The mod he made is not PUBG. It's like a I think it was called. It might have had the same name, but it was like on a different engine and it was crappy. You don't want to play that. No one's playing that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so people noticed, hey, this is the #1 game on Steam. It's like the #1 game period right now. That's pretty good. And other game studios that have more resources and such just added this game mode to their games or made similar games that are basically the same fucking thing.
Now, I'm a big fan of... I'm glad that Chicken Dinner is coming back into the lexicon because of this game. Because that is how people would describe victories in sort of the predecessors to these games, like Gun Game and Counter-Strike, or old death matches where there's a ton of players. Not like even Overwatch deathmatch, which is just 8 people. We're talking like there is 10 to 20 people in a game, and it's long, and in the end, only one.
I mean, this is nothing new, right? It's like, even though... was Mario Brothers even the first platforming game, right? It's basically one step above Pitfall, right?
Actually, I have some arguments about what the first platforming game is.
Right, but
related to
regardless of
Atari.
which one it is, right? Are you gonna say, "Oh, no, those Gianna sisters cannot be," or are you, it's like someone made a racing game and then someone else makes a racing game? You're gonna be like, "No, you can't do that," right? It's like, when they made it was a Space Invaders and then there was a Galaga. You can't be like, "No Galaga's allowed. We already made a Space Invader."
Well, especially because when it comes to games in general. Game design, game mechanics, game rules, none of those things are really covered by copyright.
Yeah, and regardless of law, I guess this is mostly a legal issue, but even without law, it's like you can make the same kind of game that someone else has already made. Magic the Gathering is not the only collectible card game, right? Just even without taking law into account, you can't own a concept.
Yep. Well, look,
nowhere on Earth can you own a concept.
When Dominion sort of made deck builder a genre,
even people who really believe in strong intellectual property and whatnot recognize you can't own a concept.
Yep. So as best I can tell,
like imagine if like the first person to play a jazz song is like, no one else may make jazz. I own jazz. You can't, right? So anyway, but what's happened here? This news story is that Epic Games, the people who make the Unreal Engine, right? Because PUBG is on the Unreal Engine, I'm pretty sure, right?
Think so.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about it. Yep.
But Epic Games that makes the Unreal Engine made this game using the Unreal Engine that is really, 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 really similar.
Fortnite Battle Royale.
That is ridiculously similar to PUBG to the point at which it's like, all right, this isn't like I made an FPS and you made an FPS, or I made Capture the Flag and you made Capture the Flag. This is like you squeaked out of PUBG.
Yeah.
And they basically, I think what happened, I didn't read. And I don't remember because this was already many days old news story. I think they got the game out on other platforms besides PC before PUBG was able to do that. And that's why it's sort of like, it's trying to conquer some territory that way.
Yep. I mean, it's interesting because on one hand, most of this kind of thing that happens are those garbage fake games on phones that try to look like a game that grandma's heard of, so it gets bought.
That's actually what this looks like. It's
Yeah,
like,
it does have that kind of graphic design to it.
You'd be like, huh, if you're Epic Games, you make the Unreal Engine, shouldn't you be able to make a better game?
But I'll be honest, when it comes to this sort of thing, I'm of the opinion that sucks, and whichever one of them is better is going to win. Like, kind of like how an idea is worth nothing, only execution matters. If someone has an idea for a kind of game, but doesn't execute it fully, and someone else takes the same idea and executes it better, they're gonna win, and that's the fastest way to evolve games.
Yeah, but I think there might be some legal action, or there is going to be some legal action or something.
I feel like that's not going to get very far. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice.
But if there is, I definitely want to keep a close eyeball on that, because that could have repercussions elsewhere, seeing how that turns out.
In the blog post announcing the version, under the Fortnite team byline, Epic writes, "We love Battle Royale games like PUBG and thought Fortnite would make a great foundation for our own version." So they preemptively started calling them Battle Royale games to imply that that is a genre.
Well, everyone knows that it is a Battle Royale game, because
Yeah.
I mean, can Battle Royale, whoever wrote the book, I don't know the author's name, can they go after PUBG?
Yeah.
Right?
What about the Hunger Games?
The Hunger Games, well, they should go after Hunger Games before they go after PUBG. Battle Royale is real old. It's from like 1998, 99, something like that. It's like, that book is not new.
It's interesting.
That movie is actually way old.
Yep.
Way old.
I actually watched the third movie, like the end movie. I guess the third movie is actually 2 movies, so there's 4 movies.
There's a third one. I thought the second one was such like insane-o garbage, like crazier than Mamoru Oshii live action crazy, that I did not proceed any further. But the first one is still the
first one's fine.
Very important and terrific movie that you should see with Takeshi Kitano.
Who makes
everything good.
Pretty much just
there is only
worse.
one Battle Royale movie, and it only has one sibling movie, which is the only Matrix movie that there is.
Do not ever read the Battle Royale manga. I cannot stress this enough.
I haven't read more than like 1 page of it.
No matter how vile you might think it is, it will surprise you.
I've actually haven't read the book, and it's kind of big, so I've always wondered, like, is it worth reading? But, maybe I check it out one day. Maybe that'd be a good book club. Battle Royale, the book.
Nah. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes, because it's very interesting, because the other similar quote-unquote controversies that's been going on is people talking about how Battleborn and Overwatch competed with each other, even though they're ostensibly very different kinds of games.
Well, there's that Lawbreakers thing, too. That
yeah. So I feel like this topic, kind of the reason we made this a news is that I don't really have any stake in the PUBG battle, and I feel like whichever game's better is going to win. I feel like lawsuits in either direction are going to go nowhere, but at the same time, I feel like this is going to crack the seal on this sort of issue being talked about more seriously in the games industry, because there is definitely like the trend from the old days of someone invents a kind of game and then there's a billion copycats immediately to try to sponge off of that. I feel like that is accelerating as a pace rapidly, and I don't know what's going to happen as a result.
But usually in the past, the copycats have always been worse, right, than the original. But if we get into situations where one developer with tons of resources, right, sees a really great game from someone without a lot of resources, back in the day, like, you would hire the Portal, like the person who made Portal, that was like some demo or something or some art project or whatever. And then Valve hired them and they made the real Portal.
Cynical counterpoint.
But if someone just sees someone's doing a thing and then suddenly just goes off and beats them at their own game because they got mad monies, that's maybe not so cool.
But at the same time, if you feel like you don't need to hire that original person or creative team, what did they actually do other than have the idea? I mean, the only thing they've done really is market research for you as well.
Well, you'd also hope that, they've learned lessons already because they've been working on it for so long, and you can avoid having to learn those lessons yourself if you hire them. Yeah,
but also kind of the side thing is games themselves, because I'm kind of a UX expert, and that's a lot of what I do in my professional life. Games don't have UX. They sort of are UX, meaning all these salient parts of a game are explorable by anyone, even someone trying to rip the game off. The parts that aren't explorable are like engineering and architecture pieces primarily that any competent person, if you hire the right team, could sort of put together on their own usually. But you can fully explore the user experience or what the game is like and what features work and don't without permission from anyone. So we'll see where this all goes, but I feel like this topic is going to get talked about more and more and more over the next couple of years, and we'll see what happens. In some other news, there's some trouble in the Smash Brothers scene.
That scene always has trouble. It's like the most drama of all, of like, and maybe not all scenes, but it is always a drama-filled scene.
Like, I feel like the Smash scene has drama above and beyond the fighting game scene within which it resides.
Well, I think it's always felt like it's next to the fighting game scene and not really in it, because Smash is so different from, say, Street Fighter or MVC or
yeah, but MVC and Bushido Blade are completely different games.
Yeah, but Bushido Blade doesn't have any community. So.
Yeah, it has me.
I don't think you're actually. I think if you actually had to play Bushido Blade, you just get your ass kicked.
Yeah, probably. The thing is,
you probably don't even remember the controls.
Nope, not at all. You know what I remember? If you have a throwing weapon,
you're just like the idea of Bushido Blade. You don't like actual Bushido Blade.
No. The problem is I like Bushido Blade, but when I say there's an asterisk, and that asterisk says "Rim a long time ago" through the filter of memory and age.
Sure. Anyway, but Smash is like such a different game and attracts a different crowd. There's not a lot of crossover between like Smash Melee Masters and Street Fighter Masters, right? But a lot of times you'll see Street Fighter Masters, playing some other fighting games and also being really damn good at them.
But Smash people are only Smash, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, well, they might play other games, but usually you don't see them not too much.
So there's a pretty serious problem for that community that is not a problem for any other fighting game community. And the problem is the old GameCube controller.
Okay,
which
is a great controller.
Even
though it looks weird, and when everyone saw it for the first time, was like, "What the fuck?"
Yep. Then you put your hands on it. It's like when Morty experienced True Level. You're like, oh. Like to this day, because I played more Soul Calibur when Soul Calibur 2 was out on this controller.
I can't play Soul Calibur 2 on a different controller. I guess I could get used to it, but
it would be difficult for me to play a Soul Calibur game because I had my vertical attack, my horizontal attack, and it just mapped so nicely.
Yep.
But Nintendo has not made a GameCube of controllers in a long-ass time.
No, they've been out of manufacture for quite a while because no one has a GameCube anymore. They don't even sell Wiis anymore.
Unlike the N64 Smash community, which does exist and has its own problems.
Let's stay away from them.
Yeah, that's like the people who still play Counter-Strike 1.6 in the year 2017. But because the GameCube controller could still be plugged into the Wii and the Wii U,
really, the Wii U? I didn't know. I
heard that's what this article said. The Wii U.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't verify that because of course, why would I have a Wii U?
I never used a Wii U.
Quote: the aging GameCube controller is a Smash staple, not just for Melee, but for the two more recent games in the franchise, which were released for the Wii and the Wii U. So that means that it's not just people who grew up in the GameCube era are used to this controller and everyone else in the Smash community moved on.
People who play Smash Wii also need GameCube controllers, even though it's
But
a
Nintendo
Wii
didn't
game.
keep making them.
Nope.
They let you plug them in, but they didn't let you make them, which is
there are Wii Pro controllers you could use.
They're not good.
They're not good. Not GameCube controller good.
So Smash community basically has this problem of its Final Destination, Fox only, GameCube controller, first party, no mods only. What the fuck are they going to do? Because there will always be, any given day, fewer functional GameCube controllers than there were before.
Well, you can just fix one, and you can also not fucking destroy them, right? It's like
no, they wear out. Like even a mouse, like a fancy mouse, you'll see they have mean time before failure. Like how many times can you click? Couple million usually.
Don't click too hard. A lot of
no, it's not a matter of don't click too hard. It's a matter of entropy.
I'm just saying. You can behave in such a way to make them last longer.
Yeah, but not that doesn't matter.
Obviously not infinity.
Yeah, longer would have made them last from the GameCube era through the Wii era.
We're
talking through the GameCube era, the Wii era, the Wii U era, and now the Switch era.
You can also repair them.
So easier said than done.
Yeah, if you got a 3D printer and you got a soldering iron, you can repair a controller.
Yeah, but it's difficult, and two, if it's not a first-party controller and someone's cracked it open and soldered it, how do you know they didn't cheat?
You check the controller.
How are you gonna look at that? Tell me if that's legit or not.
You write it. You get a piece of software.
You think the Smash community, who's built their entire existence around console gaming as opposed to a PC, is capable of that?
There's plenty of Wii mods. Wii has been homebrewed and hacked for quite a while. You make a little Wii app where someone plugs in a GameCube controller, and you have to push all the buttons, and then it tells you whether the GameCube controller is legit or not.
So if you read this article, you'll find out there's actually significant specific reasons why they're very difficult to repair, because the kinds of repairs that were easy are already done all the time. And now they're so old that they're failing in other ways. And it's starting to come down to, like, was it from the beginning of the manufacturing run or the end of the manufacturing run?
Well, I got a bunch of GameCube controllers, and I'm going to hold on to them until the Smash Melee people are so desperate, they'll pay me like a fortune for it.
I feel like Nintendo could make some money, but they won't because they don't care. They don't want to be in the non-console hardware business.
Somebody will eventually, right, just make something that lets you use like a Wii Pro controller on the, it's like...
No, it's got to be this exact shape or that community's going to freak out.
Well, you're going to have to give up at some point, right? It's just, we talked about this, I think, story earlier where the arcade people are running out of CRTs.
Yeah.
Right?
Or DDR. If you're an aficionado of Dance Dance Revolution, good fucking luck getting a good dance pad.
At the foot of my bed is a bunch of junk I'm trying to get rid of, and I'm actually gonna make some headway now on that.
You're not getting rid of your Red Octane, are you? You don't play DDR anymore? Is that
I haven't
sailed?
used that Red Octane in so long, and I don't know if it works 100%. I think it might have some bad arrows.
Yeah, well, I have 3 working
You can
ones.
try to fix mine if you want.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the at the foot of my bed, though, is a plastic Guitar Hero guitar for the Wii.
Yeah, you can just throw that shit away.
And it's like, but what if?
That community is not the same as the Smash community. That ship sailed and sank.
What if I feel like playing Guitar Hero, though, one day? I still have the game.
So there's a longer meta story here on the top about esports in general. And Smash will never be a top-tier esport for reasons like this.
Yep.
Consoles cannot, without making them effectively PCs, support modern esports, because modern esports requires significant spectator infrastructure and significant anti-cheating and uniformity infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get that with any kind of console, especially legacy
even
consoles.
The games that are esports, which are supported by the companies that make the games, have really shitty and subpar infrastructure. There's a game, I've talked about it before, I have yet to actually play it, though I do have access to it. I have to just
that Amazon one?
Right, I just had to be home on one of the weekends where you can play it. It's called Breakaway. It's made by Amazon, who owns Twitch, by Amazon Game Studios. And basically, it looks like a MOBA, but there's a ball, and the goal is to get the ball to the other end. So it's a sport, but also a MOBA kind of thing. And they are building the game from the ground up with esport and spectating and streaming it as like the first priority. And that just makes it interesting because, like, well, if you're good at that, even if the game doesn't get popular, maybe you could mooch off some Amazon Twitch monies by being like the king of this game or something, right? That no one currently even cares about. Like the forum has like no one in it, the official forum. So, I'm not promoting that game. I don't even know if it's good. I haven't played it yet. I just have it downloaded. But that's the kind of thing that you're gonna need for esports going forward. Right?
But here's the other thing that's interesting: when it comes to preservation of old experiences, like old Atari 2600s, the controllers are so simple that people can effectively repair them indefinitely in a way that they really can't do with the GameCube type stuff. But also,
there are enough GameCube controllers that in forever, right? At least
no, not forever. See, that's the kind of
some museum that is preserving games.
That's the kind of like
will be able to always
post-apocalyptic thinking.
They will always have at least one working GameCube controller.
It's not
by combining
post-apocalyptic
other ones together
until all the canned food runs out. It's not. There's going to be a time where the last GameCube controller is buried by the Lorax.
No, there isn't.
That day will come.
No, it won't.
But with the Atari and all that,
as long as there are people who care about preserving GameCube controllers, there will be one in a museum
almost
somewhere.
Every other semi-professional or serious community around a legacy console game has ways to make do that the Smash community has uniquely tied itself to a limited number of consoles and a limited number of a very specific controller.
Something else is that, Nintendo did, at certain points, make promotional items of basically Super Nintendo controller replicas that were just plugged into Wii's, right?
True.
I can definitely see on like GameCube anniversary them releasing like GameCube controllers that work on a newer system or whatever, and then people will just make adapters for them. They're definitely going to be within our lifetime. A GameCube similar controller will be manufactured as some sort of novelty by Nintendo because that's how they do.
So yet another issue here is that because this community,
right? They just made NES Classic and SNES Classic. One day GameCube will be so old they'll be GameCube Classic.
Because this
you think
community,
N64 Classic isn't coming within
So Scott, there's another problem here.
Next year, Christmas, N64 Classic, bet on it.
Because this community is so obsessed with this controller being an intrinsic part of the game, they've also basically prevented any amount of handicap accessibility in their scene.
That's a shame.
In a way that fighting games have embraced. I mean, with the fight sticks and all the alternative inputs.
Yep.
So GameCube controllers have caused people some injuries.
Well, they've also not only denying disabled people from playing your game, you're just denying people from playing your game if they can't get the equipment. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, sorry, you weren't a kid when GameCubes were out, and you don't have a bunch of money to buy one from someone.
Sorry, get tennis rackets were only manufactured between 2001 and 2009, so I guess you can't ever play tennis unless you buy some old tennis racket on eBay.
Yeah, you can't play this game. It's not for sale anymore. Sorry. Oh, you want to play this collectible card game that they don't print anymore, but it's still a big deal, huh? Oh, that's a shame.
So yeah, I guess the moral is the Smash community is really, really weird, and this is just kind of funny to me.
It's just more examples of their weirdness.
Yeah. All right. That's enough news. But anyway, things of the day. So way back, we had to have made this a thing of the day. There's a tiny chance
It was definitely a thing of the
didn't.
day.
But Wintergotten is this amazing YouTube channel / person who makes really complicated musical experiences. And the most famous one is this giant machine that just plays music with marbles, and it's amazing. And this person is currently working on a much more elaborate and interesting version of that machine. But as an aside, they do a bunch of awesome stuff. And they made this video using an instrument they developed and a bunch of other instruments to play Dr. Wily's Castle theme from Mega Man 2. And not only is it fascinating to see how he made this music, but it sounds really good. It's accurate, and it gave me some Mega Man feels. It reminded me how much I like Mega Man 2's music.
Yeah, usually a homemade instrument, you get like some hard drives playing some music or something, and it doesn't sound that impressive.
This sounds great.
This sounds incredible for this thing. It's like, whoa.
So yeah, it's good stuff. So what do you got?
Here's I guess it's an art installation, I guess is what
call it that.
This count says. So basically, I think it's in Germany, right? A bunch of people decided to entertain the train passengers by doing stuff out in the empty fields outside the train window. The idea being like, hey, you're riding the train, stop just looking at your phone. Instead, look out the window. We're going to do fun stuff as the train passes by for like a whole day. And it was a great community event because all the people who live in these farm areas got together and met each other and, had a good time working on this together. So there's one where like a bunch of people are behind bushes, they're holding bushes, and when the train comes, they start running.
Until Burnham Wood comes to Dunsinane.
Right, and there's one, there's all kinds of interesting ones. But the craziest one was a bunch of people get in a costume and all look like the same person. And they pretend to basically be having a race with the train. It's like, the first person runs and then jumps, and then you can't see them anymore. And then another person comes out from behind something with the same costume and runs, and it looks like it basically creates the illusion that someone is racing and beating the train in a foot race, even though it's a crazy fast train.
These are shockingly elaborate.
And at the very end at the train station, there's like someone there like already, who's wearing the costume. So it looks like they beat the train to the train station. And they basically did this whole thing. All these different scenes and acts were repeated for all the trains throughout the day. They think they did it for like a few hours or whatever. So you can have all the fun of riding these trains just by watching this YouTube video.
Yeah. One of my favorite, this really is more installation, like you said, than prank. But my favorite pranks in the world are do something weird where someone questions reality a little bit and they can't explain it, and they never get an
This isn't a
explanation.
prank. They think the people on the train knew to look out for it.
At least some of the people know. But imagine the person who doesn't know, just like on the train, like fucking around with their phone, and they look up and they notice that guy.
Oh, the illusion isn't that great. Is the thing? It's not. It's obvious when you look at it, like how.
It depends though, because the train's moving fast. You only see it for like a second.
Sure, but
Like they put that fake house up and then it's gone. Like the next time they go by, like that kind of nonsense. So yeah, in the meta moment, we got 2 videos up that you should watch. So one, our PAX panel from PAX West 2017, The Rage of the Quitter, is 100% on YouTube in glorious 2K because I didn't feel like uploading 50 or 60 gigabytes of 4K, and you really don't need 4K of our faces. And Scott uploaded on his channel, meaning you got to subscribe to both of our channels, the first non-anime Boston produced episode of GeekNights Judge Anime by its cover.
Yeah, it's going to be a quarterly show, so 4 times a year, like about a couple weeks before the new anime season starts, we're going to put up a video where we go through the anime chart at anychart.net and judge, based on almost no information whatsoever, which anime are going to be worth watching and which ones you should stay the hell away from. And we have uploaded the first episode of this show, and it's only going to get better. In a few months, we'll do the next episode.
Yep.
So there you go.
And I'm actually watching a lot of anime these days, so it's feeling good. And I finally fully understand exactly what it means for a show to be a darker than black.
You and your darker than black. Anyway, the book club book is The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. I finished reading it a while ago. How
I
are
gotta
you
read
doing?
I've been busy.
How are you doing?
So I'm only like 5 chapters in because
Uh-huh.
I don't have a commute anymore. Like it takes me like 10 minutes to get to work.
There's other times during the day that you can read, like before you go to bed, when you wake up.
But I've been busy
when
watching anime.
when you're at work, not doing work.
So that's the thing. My new job, I've been doing work the whole time I'm at work.
Yeah, I'm just saying there are times, when you're sitting somewhere waiting for something, whatever.
Yeah, I'll be reading it real soon. I'm gonna power through it because I really like what I read so far. I can see why people, when they start these books,
I've
get
already
excited about
I've already
them.
started on the sequel, which also won a Hugo Award, just like the original, which is the book that we're doing. And there is a third one, which I think is the last one, but I haven't. I'm
At
only
least you're not in
I'm
danger
only at the beginning of the second one.
of like I was, where we both read The Wheel of Time 1 as the book club, and we both just kept reading, and then I just kept reading till I hit the end.
I've read like 4 or 5 Wheel of Time.
Yep, but I read them all, and I know the full deal of Randall Tor and what's up with the magic and such.
I don't need to read anymore.
Yeah, the problem is it would take me longer to summarize it than it would take you to just fucking read them.
No.
So, yeah. But the 5th season,
You're just
pretty
bad
good.
at summarizing.
I defy anyone to summarize the extent.
I only need to know the parts about the creepy tower. I don't need to know anything else.
Yeah, that's really all you want to know about?
Yeah.
Because that's the least explained of everything.
Of course. The best part is always the least explained.
Nah.
That's how it always is, you fucking fantasy sci-fi people, right? The coolest thing should be the most explained. If you're watching a Star Wars movie, there should be awesome Empire shit
See, at
more than stupid Rebel shit. But
least the
no,
Prince of
you put the
Nothing-
stupid lame-ass pussy Rebels on the screen, right? Not enough TIE Fighter, too much X-Wing.
Over the course of all that Prince of Nothing, they're like, go Goddard, go Goddard. And then in the last book we just read, there it fucking is. And we're just going inside. Fullness.
And then they're like, oh, by the way, the real cool shit is actually gods. Haha. Anyway.
Well, we'll see. What is a god?
Any other,
and
yeah.
such.
So in meta, basically just go on the internet to all the places that we are, all the
Scott's
social
YouTube.
the social
My
networks,
YouTube.
the YouTube channels, the websites, the everything, and get with it.
So, we played a ton of games at PAX.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Even though PAX was already like a month ago.
if we did nothing on Tuesday shows but review games we haven't reviewed yet that we played at PAX.
We'll be at PAX Unplugged.
Yeah,
before,
PAX Unplugged. We would make it past PAX South,
Yeah, without running out.
which I guess they got to submit the panels for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, God, PAX South is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PAX Unplugged is coming up. PAX Ost is coming up, but we're skipping it this year.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to go next year for sure if Ro won the Omegathon, but because she got pretty deep, but she didn't win. So I think I'm skipping one more PAX Ost, but
That's all
I'm
right.
feeling like 2019, I'm going to go back to Paxos.
Yeah, 2018, go to Essen.
Essen, it's time. But the reason I want to review Black Friday is that it neither sounds, if you don't know who made this game, it neither sounds nor looks like the kind of game that me and Scott would like.
Well, no, I mean, it's a game made by Friedman Freese.
Oh, yeah, if you don't know who made it.
So Friedman Freese is this guy with green hair who made Power Grid, which I think in German is called...
Funken German...
all his games...
Funkenschlagel
his games begin with the letter F.
Not all of them, as we learned.
No, not all. Most of his games are, FF something, like Fresh Fish.
Yep,
right?
Fresh Fish.
And they come in a green box, just like his hair. That's how you can tell when it's his game. So Black Market is another... I can't believe how many games this dude has made, but I thought he played every game. But no, there's another one. It's called Black Market.
There's a short list of probably like 6...
What's the German name of Black Market?
Fuck if I know.
All right. Black Friday, I mean. Is it something Friday? Like...
I don't know. I'll try to look
Friday,
it up while
something
we're doing
else,
the show.
Free Day, or who knows? Anyway.
But Friedman Freese is almost tied with Knizia, I think, for reliably able to scratch an itch that Rim and Scott have related to gaming. The name of the first game in the Freak Tag... it's in a project.
What year is it? What year is it from?
2010, so it's pretty old.
It's pretty old. But anyway, I'd never seen this game before, or I've never seen it in a store. I've never seen it played. I didn't even know it existed. But then there it was. We played it.
So see why I'm saying that, like, this doesn't look like at surface value a game that Ruben Scott would play? If you look at this, you see a weird-looking board that looks like it's from one of those Milton Bradley kind of games in the U.S., a bunch of paper money, and a bunch of nonsense. And a victory track.
We didn't use paper money, we used chips, right?
Yeah, we used chips. But paper money.
Anyway, so what this game is about Black Friday, stock market Black Friday.
As in the day the stock market crashed.
Right, so it's really hard to explain the exact rules, so I'm not going to. But basically what this game amounts to is that there is silver. And over time, silver will increase in value. It starts off real cheap. What, like $20 or something?
50 to 100? I think it goes from 50 to 100. I forget.
Anyway, it starts off...
No, it goes from 0, and it starts going up.
Anyway, it starts off cheap and gets expensive. When it hits the top, that's when the game ends, right?
Yep, when silver hits its max value, I'm pretty sure that's one of the things that ends the game.
And basically, victory points...
Is money,
but... Silver is basically the money you have at the end of the game.
So you can get money, and you can use that money to either buy more stocks or convert it to silver. Once you convert it to silver, you can't turn it back into money. You can't sell silver.
I didn't see any way to sell silver.
You can't sell silver.
But in most games, you're trying to figure out, like, all right, when do I, like Puerto Rico, obviously early game doubloons are worth more. And late game, victory points are worth more. Obviously, because victory points are all that matter. But if you go for victory points right away in Puerto Rico, you'll have no doubloons and no barrels, and then you won't be able to get more victory points.
It's like Race for the Galaxy. Don't do the X2 consume on the second round.
Right. That's how most German Euro timing games work, is that you have to build this resource engine, crank it up just exactly the right amount of efficiency, and then... pull the lever so that it starts producing victory points at the right time and the right amount, but still also producing resources to get even more victory points so that you can basically completely exhaust all resources at the exact end of the game to have the most possible victory points because there's a timer in the way. If there's no timer, you can just crank as hard as possible and then get a big infinite fountain of victory points, but that's stupid. In Black Friday, if you go for victory points early, you could just buy a silver right away. And it's so cheap that you kind of want to.
But your upside is at most 80.
That's still a really good upside.
Yeah.
80? Compared to later in the game, you buy one at like 90, and
but I might have 5 shares of a stock that ends up being worth like 200 each.
Right, so that's the thing, is that the only other thing you can do, really, is engage in the stock market that's hella risky and is based on pulling random cubes out of a bag.
Now, the stock market in this game is shockingly, I'm not going to say accurate to the real stock market.
It's not accurate in its mechanism. It's accurate in its motion.
In terms of liquidity affecting price and momentum, and in terms of this game is designed to form bubbles. So I start buying a stock, and it goes up a little bit.
Right, so I buy a stock, which means I get a cube, and we put a cube in the bag. And
of the same color, same stock.
Rim buys one, and we put another one in the bag, right? And now, if there's a lot of cubes in the bag, this stock has a good chance of going up. But then, if everyone keeps buying it, and the cubes come out of the bag, which makes the price go up, right? And then people buy more cubes, and the price goes up, but now there's not a lot of cubes in the bag.
And because the price is up, fewer people are buying, so the game comes down to...
So because the price went up from people buying it, people start selling, and now there's black cubes in the bag, and when black cubes come in out of the bag, prices go way down.
Yup.
So you're trying to buy stocks that have cubes in the bag, and then once the cubes come out of the bag, you want to sell right away, and things get cray.
Yep, and a stock's price can move a significant amount, but all these, it's really hard to explain all the ways that stocks will move without just teaching you literally the entire game.
There's a crazy grid of numbers, and they move up, left, down, and right, and it's all weird and stuff.
And there's events that aren't really encoded in the board that you just have to know by reading the rulebook.
Yeah,
so,
like when the third cube is taken, then this thing happens, and we reprice all the stuff.
But unlike a lot of board games, the one saving grace is that as long as at least one person at the table fully understands all those rules, they can facilitate all the parts of the game that are complicated. And even if you don't fully understand what they're doing,
you can still understand enough to realize when it, like you to figure out, okay, I don't completely understand which cubes are moving where, but I know enough to know that this stock is bubbling, that one's tanking, and that one's on the rise. And you can just tell. Right? Before, there was, like, as we played the game a few times, it wasn't until, like, towards the end of the first playthrough that I fully understood how, all the rules of all the cube movement.
But I knew when something was about to crash.
I was still 100% right about what was happening in the market regardless, because it moves naturally.
The game has a lot of great moments, like, I buy a stock, and Scott buys the same stock right after me, and everyone's like, oh, shit, green.
So the first time we played, I won, and what happened was this Rim bought a stock, and then he went first, and it was everyone else's turn, and I said, all right, everyone, Rim bought what color?
I forget.
It was like, pretend it was blue. I'm like, all right, listen, everyone, let's all go in together on orange. Everybody orange. Rim went blue. If we go blue, we're going to put a bunch of blue cubes in the bag and help Rim. All of us orange, and we'll all get a bunch of money, and Rim won't. And sure enough, that's exactly what the hell happened. And it was totally great, and I won.
So what's really fascinating, too, is that the game looks like, and when you first start to learn it even feels like, it's going to be very fiddly number-heavy in terms of, like, someone who's not good at math could have significant analysis paralysis trying to decide what to do on
If
the turn.
you try to analysis paralysis this game, don't play this game.
But the game...
It's good enough to just know it's going to go up a little, up a medium, up a lot, down a little. You don't need to know the exact number.
Fascinating how well very simple heuristics on the board, like, are there a lot or a small number of green cubes on deck for the green stock?
Mm-hmm.
Are there a lot or a small number of them in this other area? How many black suitcases are in the bag?
How many? Yep.
Really simple heuristics like that get you 99% as far as trying to calculate actual probability.
Right. Where is the price of silver right now?
The game seems to, because the numbers are too, like, odds are really difficult to calculate, to the point that I don't think anyone playing this game could feasibly do it. The fact that it's effectively impossible for the majority of players means that people won't even try to do it. And this game, I think, is really good at fostering surprisingly nuanced heuristics in players who don't fully understand the logic of the heuristics they're using.
Yeah. I think another great thing about this game is simply that it has the classic drama we see so often of pulling stuff out of a bag.
Oh, bag drama is one of my favorite things now.
Tigris and Euphrates, what's the one with the digging for treasure?
Oh, Thebin.
Thebin, right? Any game where you pull stuff randomly out of a bag is the awesomest, right? I'm way into bag pulling right now. So, I mean, even Ra is like the worst bag pulling game.
Yeah.
But basically, even though you might be, there were situations where it's like, I know that bag is like 100% blue cubes. Oh my God, this is going to happen. And then after they finish pulling stuff out of the
black
bag.
Suitcase, black suitcase, black suitcase.
And it's like all black suitcases and blue ends up going down, even though it's like, oh my God, why? Why? And it's, you know, it's like crazy shit happens. And you totally get boned against the odds, just like in the real stock market. And that creates a lot of drama, which is fun, even if it's not the best in terms of like making it a skill game.
Yep, but unlike
the
say,
real world stock
Camel
market
Up,
is not a skill game. It's full of luck and risk and nonsense.
Unlike say Camel Up, which has a very high luck factor for that sort of drama, this game has a very high skill factor despite all that nonsense.
Well, because that's pretty much the only luck is the pulling things out of a bag, right?
Yep.
I can't think of any other luck sources in the game.
Well, you start with an initial loadout of some stocks. To
your
decisions.
initial loadout is random, but it effectively doesn't matter because everyone's
this game is not an FF. Schwarzer free tag.
Oh, okay.
Black Friday.
It still has an F.
That's
yeah.
got to be the word for Friday. So Black Friday.
Well, Schwartz definitely means black in Germanic languages.
Yep. Oh, and they use currency symbols. Okay, that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the game is just kind of like Pendante. This game had a similar feel in the sense that this was a game that greatly exceeded my somewhat low expectations and was way more fun than I expected. And as a result, got way more of our precious PAX tabletop hours than I expected.
Yeah, so
we played this game, what, 3 times?
Yeah, so if you're a person who likes stock market type things, right? And you like playing like one of the stock market games where you buy stocks with fake money.
Oh, this game is going to scratch you so good.
And then you wait for the real market to move and you play that game over like multiple days, right? And you see who has the most money at the end of a month. Everyone starts with $1,000 of fake money. This gives you all the more fun than that in only like a couple hours. And the only thing you're missing out on is the real world stock market stuff, right?
You can play this game real quick if everyone you're playing with is smart. You only need one person to 100% know all the rules.
Yep.
That's important because...
But that person better 100% know all the rules perfectly.
Yeah, because it actually matters.
You're trusting them. You're also
lot.
trusting them to not cheat.
But most of the weird complexity that you might imagine this game has, like I said, it distills really simply into heuristics that are digestible. And this game, in terms of the ebb and flow and deciding when to shift from money generation to better victory point money generation, because it's all just money in the end, it's similar to St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
You have your 2 modes and you're flipping between them.
The other great thing about this game is that your turns are really simple. It's like comes to your turn, it's like you can buy some stock.
Yep.
You can sell some stock. You can buy some silver. It's like there's not really it's a lot like Ticket to Ride, where in very modern design, where you go around taking very small actions on your turn. There isn't a lot of like, I'm gonna move this, but where do I move it kind of stuff.
Yep, and a consequence of that is that there's a lot of table banter.
It's like I'll buy a blue cube. That's my turn. Go.
Lots of table banter and player interaction. Like, come on, Scott, green's hot. Join me. Buy some green stock with me. We'll make out like bandits.
Except we went against Rim. We did the smart thing. Don't get on the Rim team. Everyone gang up on Rim, and that totally worked.
Yeah, like in that Patreon
Which is what
game.
you should be doing every time I tell you to do that. See how well it worked? Do it again. Every single game we play, gang up on Rim.
In the 3 ongoing long-form Civ games I have, the first one, the big crew one, that
did they gang up on Rim?
So the entire world has been at war with me for like 100 years.
Good job, world.
Literally, the entire world is at war with me.
Good job, world. Good job.
And yet, despite that, the only consequence is I lost my worst city. I'm still actually doing fine.
Do better at the game, people.
In the Patreon game, I feel like I'm running away with it. No one can stop me.
I'm sure the other people are just not that good.
So one person who I know is good just got effed because basically Egypt was like on this continent, like in a line. To the south of them was me and Persia, and I just rolled Persia, so I'm right up on Egypt's border. And Poland rolled someone, so Poland and me are these 2 massive land, like, war empires, and Egypt was this strip of culture between the 2 of us.
See, now, Black Friday, I think, would be a fun game to play online if there's an online version. I could just play, you could play one in like an hour or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
Especially if a computer did it for you, it would be so fast.
But I feel like playing it physically with people is the only way this game is fun.
But what I'm saying is that I would really like it even more if someone made a somewhat similar stock market game where there's like a fake market and stocks go up and down.
Yep.
Except it's It's more real time if it's digital, right? So
a little more mule trading.
Right, you basically pretend like there's a fake stock market and everyone the day starts.
You've got dials now. Your stocks buy or sell, and you're just like buy.
And basically
sell.
the stocks are moving in real time, and you're basically simulating like a day of day trading or something.
Yeah.
But obviously, it only takes an hour that the clock is sped up. And then you play.
As long as that feedback loop, because this game, I can't stress enough, I'm not even going to try to explain the details of the feedback loop of how stock prices get determined in this game. You just got to read the rules.
The cubes move around a grid based on how many cubes come out of a bag minus how many black suitcases come out of a bag.
But it is a fascinating mechanism. If I ever get the chance to interview Friedman Freeze, the first question I'm going to ask him...
How did you come up with this?
Yeah. How did you playtest and design this specific mechanism in Schwarzer Free Tag?
Because I made a lot of games, so I'm good at it. I'm a genius game maker. So, yeah, I don't know if this game is for everybody, but if you like stocks... and you're okay playing games that are a little bit hard to understand.
Well, I'd say
and you like to play for an hour with 4, 5, 6. Is it go to 6 people?
Let me check. Actually, if you're the kind of person
then you
who
should
shows up at your friends'
this game
houses,
out, but I don't know how you're gonna find it.
If you're the kind of person who shows up at the friends' houses with the games, or you're the one who like runs games for people, this is a must-buy because you'll know the rules, so you can do the annoying part and. People will really have fun with this game, like people who play board games, I feel like.
Yeah, but I think that this might not be a fun game for people who chafe at things that are complicated. They're like,
I might buy it because I feel 2 to 5.
All right, how are you going to find a copy?
I bet I can find a copy.
All right, well.
Amazon right now, $54. That's not the worst.
It's not great.
I mean, I paid, like $80 for La Chita, and I've played that 3 times in my life.
Okay, well, whatever. I'm hungry.
Yeah, but this is a good game.
Yeah.
Boop.